computers almost made me sick just to see the box.
74 team there in person, and they were bigger than life. It was amazing. Back to get his degree in 2003, and that's something that this time we would like to bring up the man being honored today, Mr. David Thompson.
This Wolfpack in the house. Before we get into this, I was born in Boiling Springs, the youngest of 11 kids. Had 7 sisters, 3 brothers, and 1 bathroom. And for most of my life, it was outside. But as you know, I got a lot of relatives. A lot of them drove a lot of miles to get here. So I'd like for my family from Washington, D.C., and from all over North and South Carolina to stand up and raise your hand. And I also want to acknowledge my niece, Charlotte Smith, that played over Carolina and won them a national championship. So we got quite a few in our family.
She was a dunker. She learned from you.
Yes, she did. Passed it down.
So it's kind of appropriate that we're doing this now, the 50th anniversary of the national championship. What does it seem like yesterday, and what do you recall from those days of flying through the air and winning that national championship in 1974?
Well, it seems like a short period of time until I start walking and my knees start popping and everything. But it's something you never forget. Being a part of a national championship is something that draws the school together, the state together, and we're teammates for life. We talk about our national championship team honoring that, and me having my statue done the same year. I think it's a perfect time because a lot of my success was predicated on the team's success. And I'm real thankful that I had a great player playing with me like Tommy Burleson, who tells me he was a great every day. Monty Child that threw me the alley-oop passes, and we created something that's a staple in basketball today and forever. And to be a part of that with Monty Child, Tim Stoddard throwing me those alley-oops. We have Mark Moeller here, who's a sharpshooter that would come in and score a lot of baskets. So a lot of our success was predicated on the team. And also, I want to thank Eddie Biedenbach for coming down to Shelby, North Carolina, and taking me out to eat at the Holiday Inn for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And for spending time with me, more time with me than he did with his wife when he was on his honeymoon. And it paid off, and he was one of the big reasons why I chose North Carolina State.
That's a great story. David, give us what it was like to play for Norm Sloan.
It was pretty easy for me. I don't know for Tommy. He used to get on Tommy a lot. He used to kick his butt. But Coach Sloan was a great coach, and he had a great philosophy. I think the thing that was great about Norm Sloan was he believed in defense and believed in team unity. He had us all live together, and I think as a result, we became good friends, and that showed on the court. We cared about each other. And Coach Sloan's philosophy was constancy to purpose of individuals results in a team of champions. And by that, he meant if everybody understood their goal and did it to the utmost, collectively we'd be successful. And that's what exactly we were. We were national champions, 58-1 in a 2-season period, which is unbelievable, and nobody else has ever done it.
The GOAT before the GOAT. David, when you came from Crest High School, Boiling Springs to Raleigh, North Carolina, and NC State, what were your expectations and what were you hoping to achieve coming from such a small town to a big university with, I don't know if pressure was on you or not, but you were one of the greatest players in the country and everybody wanted you. What was it like for you and what were your expectations?
Well, I expected to be a part of a winning team. You know, nobody expects to go undefeated and 2 years in a row in the ACC because the conference was so tough. But one of my goals was to be a member of a national championship team. And the fact that they had a good core of guys, especially with Tom Burleson there, and some of the new additions we had, I thought we had a great chance of winning the national championship. And by God's grace, we're able to do that.
There was a great memory when you guys came home right here in Reynolds Coliseum, the celebration. Was it Greg Hawkins that walked in on his hands?
Yeah, Greg Hawkins walks on his hand, but now he's got a walking cane. And Phil Spence said instead of the hand walker, he's the cane walker now. It's been a few years.
So share with us the story of how you found out that you were going to be honored with a statue at NC State.
Well, I was at one of my grandson's mini basketball games, and I got a call from Boo. And the first time I couldn't pick up the call, and then later on he called.
You just
again.
ignored Boo right away.
The kids are playing games, so you have to watch them, right? So I get to them later. So I called back to him, and he told me, he said, David, we're thinking about building a statue of you. Would that be okay with you? Would that be okay with me? And the only bad thing about it was I couldn't tell anybody for a long period of time. It was very tough to keep that a secret. But anytime you can have a statue built about yourself at a great university like North Carolina State, a university I love with so many outstanding fans and so much history in basketball, it's something that I could never imagine. And I'm totally honored. I want to thank Boo and all the donors and everyone at North Carolina State for thinking that highly of me to build a statue of me at this university.
So I remember a few months ago when you came here to Reynolds, we were in a little room. You met with the sculptor, the artist, the committee. They were measuring your ears, your nose, your head, your hands. Where do you hold your mouth when you shoot and everything? Did you ever imagine it was that much of a process to figure out, well, how are we going to do this and what do you want it to look like?
Yeah, it was quite a long, drawn-out process, but hopefully it came out good. I told him just have me looking like I'm alley-ooping over Bill Walton, and that would be great.
Request made. The other thing that I found interesting, too, was you really wanted to have the right hairstyle on this statue, right? Now, explain the difference in the afro and the teeny afro that you had.
Well, at the beginning of the game, I had a nice, well-proportioned afro, and by the fourth quarter, it was shrunk in on the side. But anyway, when I fell and hit my head, they had to put 15 stitches in the back of my head, and so they had to cut my fro down. And you've got guys on the team; they always like to tease you. This guy, Dwight Johnson, who's late Dwight Johnson, one of our great teammates, he teased me. He called me TWA, meaning teeny weeny afros. That was my nickname for a couple of weeks.
I think they got it right again. So, David, it will be out here forever. You can walk by. Your kids, your grandkids, fans, students, anybody that walks by here, when they look at that statue, what do you hope that they know about you or could learn about you when they look at David Thompson as a statue?
I hope they know that I was a guy that loved North Carolina State and a guy that was part of a team that helped bring the university together, the state together, and relations together. I think because of the closeness of our team and the way we felt about each other, that reflected throughout the campus and throughout the state. And I'd like to say today that those guys, a member of our 1974 National Championship team, are still some of my best friends. And we communicate almost daily. And I'm so grateful for that. My only concern, well, you know, my mom and dad, they would really be proud of this, coming from where we came from. And Tavis. I'm real grateful. Thank you, Jesus.
Can't get any better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, David Thompson. So at the end of David's senior year, I was watching Coach Sloan's TV show, and they did a video, and the music was by the Hollies. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. And the lead line in that is, the road is long with many a winding turn. Isn't that the truth for all of us? Right? We all have our own journey. We go from elementary school to high school. We go from high school to college. A small number of people get to play professional sports. After that, we dip our toe into the real world, and then we jump into the deep end and start to figure things out from there. It's called a journey. Now I want to share a video with you that takes us through the journey of David Thompson as the player and the person. Years since David Thompson played in this gym at Crest High School in Shelby, North Carolina. But even 5 decades removed, he's still here in photos and memories. It was always a packed house to watch this high-flying teenager begin his climb to stardom. The impact Thompson in basketball had wasn't confined to a gym. His arrival was in unison with desegregation at Crest High School.
And it's a widespread rural community. He brought people together, whether you're bringing people of all economic levels, races together, this was the place to do it.
Modest and humble. It's something Thompson learned growing up at the end of this dirt road in a small house filled with support from his parents and siblings.
You tell me, said he's going to be a star someday. David have made many friends, and we have met many friends, and seem like everybody loves him, and they respect us.
Basketball was an avenue to opportunity.
Growing up the way I did with growing up in a poor family and trying to do the best that I possibly could be in the game of basketball, and to have North Carolina State honor me in the way they did is truly a blessing.
In 1971, Thompson found a new home at NC State. At the time, freshmen were not allowed to play with the varsity until their second season.
Bouncing it off to Stoddard. Stoddard looking, goes to Thompson.
But whether on the freshman team or the varsity, Thompson had an array of talent few had ever seen.
Far ahead of his time. 6'4", had a 44-inch vertical. He was quick as lightning and, could shoot the heck out of the ball. That was a point in time when you just had to marvel his leaping ability because he jumped over everyone.
He was a basketball player who happened to be blessed with a remarkable ability to float over the court. David just seemed to elevate and then levitate.
He would go up so high that guys that were defending him would try to block it and be on their way down while he was still trying to get up to his peak.
With NCAA rules disallowing the dunk, Thompson and company found another way to utilize his ability to float.
The alley-oop just kind of came out of nowhere, just a play that we, did over in Carmichael Gym, and then did it one day in practice for Coach Sloan. But I threw passes, Stoddard threw passes, Moeller threw passes, but the one common denominator was David Thompson. If he could have dunked it, it would have been even a more spectacular play. But sometimes the alley-oop where you couldn't dunk and just lay it in was actually a more beautiful play than a slam dunk.
But there was more to his game than playing above the rim.
He's such a great shooter. If you ever watch his technique, he's such a great shooter. He turns. If you don't play up on him, pow.
Now it goes to David Thompson.
You come up on him. His leg strength is so great, he's going to go by it.
The one thing that really struck me was his vertical on his jump shot, which made it so tough for any player his size or smaller to deal with him. The problem was the bigger guys weren't quick enough to be able to deal with his first step.
It was impossible to defend David Thompson. What he did have was skill. What he did have was graceful explosiveness. And then he had the mind and the heart, the soul and the spirit of a champion.
When he was a sophomore, NC State was undefeated in ACC champions. As a junior, they repeated as conference champions, beating Maryland 103-100 in an epic overtime thriller. That's when only the tournament champion advanced to the NCAA tournament.
As far as the success of NC State and their championship bid, he was everything.
2 weeks later, it took 2 overtimes for the Wolfpack to stun UCLA in the national semifinals. It ended a run of 7 national titles for the Bruins and 2 straight for Bill Walton.
Never measure yourself by what you have done, but rather by what you could have or should have been able to do. And I just could not beat David Thompson that day.
The mission to win NC State's first national title was complete with a win over Marquette. In the 1974 postseason, Thompson averaged 27 points and 7 rebounds, a generational player that led to team accomplishments.
You got to have David Thompson to win the national championship. David Thompson was on a platform of his own. David was the best player of our era.
In my opinion, the best player ever to play in the ACC, David Thompson.
In 1996, Thompson was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. 13 years later, he was on the stage again as a presenter for an unlikely admirer.
I was 11 years old, 1974, I think, when you guys won the championship. And I was an anti-Carolina guy. I hated UNC. And here I ended up at UNC. But I was in love with David Thompson. Not just for the game of basketball, but in terms of what he represented. You know, we all, as Vivian said, we go through our trials and tribulations. And he did. And I was inspired by him.
There have been many profound moments in the life of David Thompson, one coming in 2003 when he walked across the stage as a graduate of NC State with a degree in sociology. Add that to his list of athletic accomplishments. 3-time ACC Player of the Year and All-American, National Player of the Year twice, ACC champion, national champion, Naismith and NC State Hall of Famer, and the only Wolfpack basketball player to have his jersey retired. Now, one more way to honor an icon, with a permanent statue. It will sit on a base that is 44 inches high to match his number and vertical leap. The pose? At the peak of his jump.
My signature play at North Carolina State is the alley-oop. So I was hoping they would be able to get the statue and make it with me doing the alley-oop, preferably over Bill Walton, but...
I'm here to tell you, he was more than really special. He was unique. He was one of a kind. He was radiant. He was brilliant. He was a comet that came through our universe one time. There is only one David Thompson.
A statue, a permanent reminder, an honor bestowed upon only one athlete at NC State.
The 4 best years of my life was here at Reynolds, and that's where I made my name. David Thompson became a household name playing basketball here at Reynolds Coliseum. To be honored by your school and to be out there for history is something I'll never forget. And it's the greatest award a player could ever have.
You got a sneak peek of what it looks like. And it was great to relive so many of those moments in that video and to hear some of his teammates and opponents have such high praise. That's who David Thompson is. Well, you know what we're here for. It's time to unveil the David Thompson statue. So at this time, if Boo Corrigan and Chancellor Randy Woodson would come up, we will get the show on the road and see what we all want to see. Yeah, don't get behind it, David. You got to see it. Drum roll, please.
I'm Johnny.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Have yourself a good time.
Have you been good this year?
Okay.